Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Ines, and this is where we safely feel the feels and talk about all things spirituality. Today I wanted to do an extension of my self-help video. I want to talk about inner child, which in my opinion is the first step in healing yourself. One thing I want to mention about inner child is that it can open up some really harsh wounds, and it can open up the areas of traumas and PTSD. And I highly suggest that you take up the option to do it with a professional, whether it is with a shadow work or inner child specialist, a therapist, whatever is available to you, whatever calls out to you. But inner child work and some shadow work, but mostly inner child work, we most likely have inner child issues because we blocked out some really harsh shit in order to protect ourselves, in order for us to be able to get older and grow up. So if you're getting into the inner child stuff, you might not even realize it, but you might have some pretty harsh and traumatic blocks to work with, in which case give yourself some saving grace and have the option and be open-minded to doing it with a specialist, whether it's the sciencey route or the spiritual route or both. I suggest both, best of both worlds, right? Okay, so when you're working on your inner child, as you heal your inner child, one of the benefits is that as you open up these harsher moments and these harsher, more traumatic memories, you're actually also going to be receiving back some of the good memories as well. If you don't remember a lot of your childhood, chances are it's because you've blocked it out due to some trauma. When I talk about trauma as children, sometimes it can be very small things that our inner child has made big. So don't judge yourself on having trauma from something very small or minor. Everybody gets hit with trauma differently. Everybody perceives situations differently. So if you feel like you've held on to certain trauma and you feel like it's not that big, why does it bother me? It's okay that it got that big. Now is the time to just heal it. So going back to certain issues, going back to certain things is how you heal this stuff. When you're doing inner child healing, especially if you choose to kind of do it on your own with kind of like side temporary help with somebody else, or just completely on your own, you quite literally are the adult that comes in and saves the child that you used to be. So similar to how you can send energy back to your younger self, you are now the higher self that is going to be the hero to your past child. That is inner child healing. One of the best ways that I've been able to heal my inner child is almost in meditation and visualization, through remembering, going back in time and sitting with myself and becoming my own, like becoming the child I was again as my adult self. And the best way for you to do this is do it in meditation and do it through journaling. If there's anything that comes up that you didn't like that happened when you were a kid, or that is like weighing on your mind and just kind of staying with you, this is something that you need to look at. There are so many resources out there. You can definitely do this on your own for free, but again, sometimes the trauma that we experienced, sometimes the things that we experienced, the emotions we experienced aren't nice to go back to, and that's where a lot of us tend to keep from going back to healing our inner child. And again, this is where you would hire somebody else or a professional or work with other people. There's a lot of really great support groups, especially online. There are so many accounts and creators that are kind of like a support group especially on TikTok. So find these people, work with them. You're not alone. Everybody's going through some sort of emotional and mental healing. And if you aren't and you think you're healed, it's because you're in denial. So when it comes to inner child healing, it's very much about you going back in time and being the hero that your inner child needed back then. There's also going to be a lot of blocks. The way I look at it is also kind of like going back in time. You can go directly back in time to a certain situation or a certain scenario, or you can kind of start where you are now and go back year by year until you reach your inner child. It's really up to you. This is where the self journey and the journaling is very important. You keep track of everything, and as you work through your emotions, as you write your emotions down, you are ultimately transmuting them. You are feeling out these emotions so that you can clear them. The only way that you can clear trauma, that you can heal, is through feeling them again. And it's unfortunate because you never want to go back and feel the shitty shit you felt, but that's quite literally the only way for you to heal, is to feel them again. A lot of the times the trauma that we have stuck inside us, we have repressed memories, repressed emotions, repressed thoughts, we've repressed ourselves, we've repressed our inner child. And in order to free and kind of clean up house, we have to feel it. We have to allow it, all these blocks, we have to allow it to go through us instead of holding on to it. A lot of the times when we hold on to things, it's because we don't want to feel them. One thing I learned in my own experience is that when you hold on to trauma and you hold on to emotions, it creates blocks, and it can also take on in physical manifestation, meaning, and I had major issues with this, meaning that your physical body, your physical vessel will start hurting if you haven't dealt with certain blocks. So for me personally, one of the reasons why I went on medication to help me heal was to just rebalance the chemicals in my brain so that I could actually even start therapy. And it got to a point where it was like, you have so much repressed emotions, you have so much repressed or suppressed feelings and blocks that your physical body needs a break. And that is quite literally the main biggest reason I went on medication before I started my shadow work, was to rebalance the chemicals in my brain and to give my physical body a break, because I was holding on to so much emotion and so much negativity that didn't serve me well. So if you are somebody who is struggling with any type of mental or emotional health issues and you are not dealing with it, you will most likely experience it in physical form. There are a ton of really great blogs out there by professional therapists, psychotherapists, counselors, people who have done their own healing journey and talk about their experience. I highly suggest starting to read a lot of them, and that'll get you kind of in the door of figuring out where you want to go, what you want to heal, where to start, what to even process. The way I look at mental and emotional health is kind of like a highway, and there's just so many cars on there, there's so many emotions, it's kind of like a traffic jam. And what you want to do is clear out this traffic jam. But you quite literally have to drive the cars towards the highways or off the highways in order to clear the highway, in order to clear this traffic jam, right? Same thing with mental and emotional health. You have to feel it to clear it. Again, self-journey and journaling is a great way for you to start. I preferred shadow work over therapy. The biggest reason why is because I transmute energy, and I found therapy, it's more like you just talk about it, and I didn't like that. I talk to my higher self. I'm very self-aware. I've been talking to my higher self since I was a kid. I remember going into therapy and my therapist was like, "You're doing a really good job. You're like your own therapist." And that was where I decided I can keep doing this, but I need the push of shadow work to allow me to transmute these shitty emotions into ways to actually help me, to ways to propel me forward and to actually help me heal. So I personally preferred doing the shadow work over therapy because I was already my own therapist. And being self-aware, talking to your emotions, allowing your emotions to come to the surface and actually feeling out your emotions, writing them down, is a way to be your own therapist. And that is how you do self-help therapy, especially for inner child. I highly suggest that you read a lot of different blogs from various professionals and people who have done the personal work on themselves, and it'll give you a better understanding of what it all actually is. And I'm gonna do an inner child meditation following this, but that's all for now. So I hope you guys have a great time with healing. And your inner child healing is one of the most important areas for any type of self-healing, any type of therapy, and that is a great one to start with. And I'm going to talk about shadow work and interdependence in different episodes. But for now, cheers to your inner child. Be a kid again. Love you guys.